yet another webinar from Help Systems. Today's topic is what's new with Halcyon. I'm Tom Huntington. I'm be acting as the moderator today, and we're going to show you some of the easiest ways to learn the latest and greatest things about the Halcyon software. I'm a power champion for the IBM Power Platform, so excited to be able to share what's new and what's happening around Power Platform, and also an advocate of it and longtime veteran of Help Systems. Pleased to be joined by Mr. Ash Giddens from our UK office. Ash, how are you today?
Good, thank you. I'm all good, Tom.
Awesome, awesome. So what do you do? What's your role in the industry?
Well, I kind of work in the pre-sales team, mainly on the power side, predominantly looking after the systems management solutions, so Halcyon, Robot, and more now getting involved in some of the power tech, some of the security solutions on IBM I throughout EMEA mainly.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into Halcyon. Let's talk about the Halcyon landscape and some of the things that this technology can do.
Yeah, I thought this was a kind of an interesting reminder for some people, and maybe an education piece for others. Yeah, so the Halcyon landscape, predominantly, most Halcyon customers came to us for IBM I monitoring or automation. But I thought it was important just to really share that, hey, we obviously have I, but we also have similar solutions on Windows, Linux, AIX, and BIOS. So similar to what you can do on IBM I, create a rule, define some criteria, and define an action. Those kind of 3 steps we can do on other platforms too. And that's kind of depicted on the left-hand side of this slide here. And commonly, most people tend to have this centralized console, the enterprise console, sitting at the heart of their environment that receives alerts from these platforms. So typically, most people would end up with one console shared across their whole enterprise. And also, just as a reminder, that console can also receive alerts from SNMP devices as well. So any hubs, switches, routers, printers, environmental equipment, they're all capable of generating SNMP traps.
So SAN storage, right? SAN storage,
yeah. V7000s, V9000s,
yeah,
absolutely anything. And even more monitoring tools. You know, there are some quite niche monitoring tools out there that, again, are capable of generating traps. So why not push those traps into a single console? I don't think any of us have the time to monitor more than one console during the day. So make that console be Halcyon.
Yeah, and I've been involved with a customer who just recently switched out of Tivoli. They were using that as their enterprise monitoring solution into the Halcyon Network server suite. So that's an option too. If you're frustrated with that tool for whatever reason, we can help you out there and include IBM I, BIOS, AIX, Linux all in one central area.
Yeah, good point.
Awesome.
I guess one of the main reasons people use the console is because there are smartphone apps for it as well. There's an Android app, there's an iPhone/iPad app as well, just available on Google Marketplace or on the App Store, and it allows you to basically have your infrastructure monitoring in the palm of your hand. So that's very popular as well.
Awesome. All right, well, let's move on to our first polling question. Let me open that up here on our end. We want to know what your experience is and how familiar you are with the Halcyon solution. I have to say over the years, Ash, that people do have problems pronouncing Halcyon, so we'll pronounce that a few times, and maybe you say it differently than me, but we own more than one Halcyon solution and use it every day. We own one Halcyon solution and use it every day. We own Halcyon, but could use some training with the tool, so maybe you need some education and help, and certainly Ash and others can help out with that. We don't own Halcyon yet, so let's have everybody take and answer that polling question. Let's see. Next webinar up for me, I'm going to be talking about IBM I in the cloud. So we have a webinar coming up on December 12th, SkyTap, IBM, Help Systems, Meridian IT, talking about running IBM I in the cloud. So that'll be an interesting session for people to join us. All right, let me close out this poll here, and let's see, did I share the results? I'll share the results with all of you. And it looks like 52% of you are using Halcyon every day, and 26% are using multiple options of Halcyon every day. So numbers can go a little higher than, I think we allowed people to select multiples on that. We own Halcyon, but they need training. Okay, so we got to help you out there. And some of you are net new to Halcyon. So looks like we got a lot of opportunity to educate people. And let's move it back over to you, Ash.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And we have on our agenda, that's right, we're going to talk about templates today, monitoring, miscellaneous enhancements, roadmap items for Halcyon, and back over to you again, Ash, for the next slide.
Yeah, so we've got quite a raft to cover today. Quite a raft of changes. So let's kind of rattle through them. So I guess the first enhancements to talk to you about are templates. Really, templates have always been a big thing with Halcyon, and templates typically, as I'll show you in a minute, they're kind of built into the product. We're talking about IBMI here. They're built into the product, but they're hidden. If you're running any of these products that I mentioned, where templates are listed, you just need to get in touch with us. Get in touch with your regional sales manager, and we can give you just a key. It's like a hidden key that, once popped in, will enable a whole raft of rules. Some of which you may choose not to release, but hey, they're all there. We've tried to do the thinking for you. And new templates, IBM DB2 web query. So that allows you to monitor the subsystems, the jobs, job statuses, and also the ports for the console, the server console, the listener, and also I think the report broker. So that's a big template. And HA for I, a logical replication solution. I think it's from Canada that we've bumped into several times. We work with that vendor, and again, that template will allow you to monitor subsystems, jobs, job statuses. These are key jobs that are paramount for the smooth operation of that application. We also monitor the remote journaling, whether there's any replication errors, user profiles that are used, and spool files that are generated. So the idea with these templates and all of them is you don't need to suffer a problem once and then think, I can monitor that in future. You can monitor it up front, so you don't have to suffer. What else have we done? Updated. Yeah, we're. I think this is where we started. This is the first template, Infor M3. So we've just enhanced that really, and we allow people now to monitor Java jobs with excessive heap usage. We also monitor internal job statuses. So these are not traditional IBMI submitted jobs, but these are jobs within the M3 application. Still on templates, PowerHA, that's been around for a while. Of course, our own PowerHA. It looks after itself very well, but there are some key touch points. So we've enhanced that template, that monitoring template. So it now monitors the cluster node and the cluster resource group, the CRG. So if you're running PowerHA, just reach out to your RSM or myself and Tom, and we can steer you in the right direction for that template. And then finally on this slide, PowerTech antivirus. What have we done here? We have created a template that allows you to monitor for any viruses being found. So if there is a virus detected within that product, we can raise an alert. And remember, that could be an email, an SMS, an enterprise console alert, or all of the above. We also track whether virus definitions are older than 7 days. Obviously, these need to be updated and probably do get updated most days. So you'd want to know if there was something wrong with that update mechanism. So busy times in and around templates. And I just brought this up as a reminder as to some of the templates that we've got out there that you may not know about. You may be running these applications in your business. So these span business applications, ERP solutions, high availability. You see Maxava, QuickEDD, iCluster, iTerra. They're all HA solutions. There's even some there for, IBMI services. So there are literally hundreds of services that run on IBMI. So FTP is just a service. it's a job or a group of jobs, as is SMTP. If those things stop, your application or your business can stop. So we've built a whole template for that. And again, just a single key, and that enables all those, and you just release ones you're interested in, and you're alerted if there's any problems there. So just really a reminder there as to the templates we've got.
Yeah, and those are part of the product, right? I mean, it doesn't take much to get those going.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
And this is really actually, this is how quick it is. So this is, if you're not aware of templates, so it's typically if you've got level 2, level 3, or level 4, so anything level 2 or higher, we would give you that code, that customization code. You'd pop it in there. It's just a custom command, and that would populate a whole raft of rules for you, depending on the template itself. But templates also expand to other platforms. So there's some Windows, there's some Linux, there's some AX. We've also got a BIOS template as well. So monitoring of BIOS shouldn't be underestimated, but just really a selection of some of the templates that we've got available. You can also build your own templates away from the eye. So if there's something that you monitor regularly, you can build your own template and roll it out to those boxes.
You know, and Ash, I see more and more administrators where they're responsible for IBMI and Windows and Linux. So this can help tie that all together and answer that question of giving you one tool for managing both.
Exactly so.
Awesome.
Let's pop over to monitoring. As I say, we've got quite a lot of content to get through here. BRMS, used in thousands of IBMI shops throughout the world. We've been able to, in Halcyon, we've been able to monitor BRMS for quite some years now, and we now support 7.4. There was a subtle change in the operating system, so we can now monitor BRMS in 7.4. And typically what this does, it gives you the ability to monitor the contents that you see if you run Joblog BRM. And what you see with Joblog BRM, the contents in there are far greater than what you see on QHIST, QSysOpera, even QSys message. There's some really key things in there that are worth keeping an eye on or worth monitoring. So all you need to do is you need to add the BRMS in Q user BRM queue, and we monitor those contents. So you can monitor them generically, or you can monitor them quite specifically in there. So powerful stuff. This was an interesting one. This is almost a throwback, I feel, but I thought it was worth mentioning. So we now include the ability to lock an interactive display with a screensaver that requires a user to provide a password to unlock it. So I guess it's similar to a Windows screensaver that we're all used to on our laptops and PCs, but this is just for the IBMI. And the reason I mention this is that you can tie this down to specifics, so specific users or specific subsystems. So, hey, maybe your finance team or your HR team, if they're using the eye and they leave the screen unattended for maybe even 5 minutes, you can force them. We can force that screen to lock, that green screen to lock. So that's a quite good one. And they have to press a F3 or an F12 to provide a password to unlock that. As I say, that can be applied to subsets or users, and it's quite neat to be able to split that. Job logs. This is powerful. This is one of my favorite parts of Halcyon. So we've traditionally been able to monitor for jobs completing, things completing, or things we expected to complete. The job log monitor, which is in level 1, so it's therefore in level 2s, 3, and 4. The job log monitor has the ability to monitor active jobs. So we can look inside the contents of the job log of the active job. So typically you would you'd select the job. So this is selecting a mass update job, and we try to be as specific as we can. So we try to pin it down to a subsystem and user. The more precise we can be, the better it is on resources. We don't need to check excessive number of jobs, but we can monitor for particular message IDs within that job. We don't need to wait for the job to finish and then take a look at it. We can monitor it while it's running. So the change here was to also monitor these additional jobs that are listed, so they're capable as well. So again, that's as simple as creating anything else in Halcyon. The rule header, where you describe when it's active, the criteria, which is what you see on this screen, and then of course the action. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So the message queue monitor. So pretty much everybody will have this. This is level 1 and every other level. This now picks up and displays. Sorry, what you see here. This is a screenshot from the message log. So if you go into Halcyon and take option 1, that's the message log. That's your black box flight recorder, recording everything that goes on under the covers of Halcyon. What we now do is, if an inquiry message is replied to outside of Halcyon, so maybe somebody replies to it directly from a message queue, we now actually capture that, whereas before we just left that blank because we didn't handle it. It's handled outside of Halcyon, but we now capture that. So we capture the method. So if it's a message queue, hey, it's a queue. And we also capture the user and the job that replied to that. As I say, before we just left that blank, and we didn't work that out. So that's a nice to have sometimes.
No, it really is. When you're troubleshooting things, it's great to know if people are replying outside of the product. That's good to see.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Now this is a very much underutilized area of Halcyon, the object monitor. It's almost like a catch-all area. You can do so much within here, and just some examples on here.
Ash, what level is that in? Is that level 2 or 3?
That's level 2, Tom. Object monitor.
All right.
But yeah, you can raise alerts for users not being signed on in 30 days, and here we go, Java jobs using excessive heat usage. But what people have used this for recently, which brings me to the enhancement, is they've done housekeeping on their IFS. So they've specified a path or a location on the IFS, and they say, I want to know, or I want to delete any IFS stream file that's not been touched or not been used for 60 days. And we have one managed service provider in the UK, and one of their customers generates 30,000 stream files a day. Staggering. So they use Halcyon to housekeep that, in effect. And the change we've done is not only we've allowed them to have, as this bottom screenshot denotes, up to 35 auxiliary monitors, so that there's more workers in effect doing that housekeeping. We've allowed them to set a minimum, so that when Halcyon starts, there are 10 jobs waiting there, whereas previously we had to wait until the workload was there, and then we'd spawn another one and another one. They wanted a minimum to be able to set. So use it to do your housekeeping. It's very powerful for that, and very efficient as well, may I add.
Awesome.
I couldn't think of a name for these enhancements, Tom, because these are so varied.
I appreciate your creativity. Miscellaneous enhancements. Let's hear about them.
Well, we've got Mrs. Communicator. So this is level 1, and these are called rosters or rotors, as we call them in the UK.
Roasters.
But, yeah.
Or roosters, not to be confused with roosters. So these are really your on-call people, right? Who's on call?
That's exactly that.
Okay.
So whenever you raise an alert, you point to a roster or a rotor, and you can now set it to monthly, and you can say the date of the month where that changes, and that, of course, the time. So you can just point to that roster and say, hey, that roster is taking care of my on-call. I want you to change it every month. So that's quite neat. That's quite a simple one, but quite neat. And the one at the bottom here, this is quite an unusual one. There's now a system default within Halcyon. If you do a work sys DFT, you'll see literally hundreds of system defaults. They work in a similar way to system values on the ION. They basically control the makeup and the running of the box. There's now a system default that optionally allows you to zip up attachments prior to sending them with Halcyon. So that's either a yes or no. That's a kind of a blanket type value. So if you're sending some
That's
big
handy.
attachments, yeah, if you're sending big attachments, that's going to be your friend. It's also your friend. So this is in the Mimics monitor. It's not included in level 1, 2, 3, or 4. This is a just bolt-on product. It slots in seamlessly, and you can now monitor Mimics audits. Whenever I speak to Mimics customers, they tell me, or they used to tell me before we put the enhancement in, how much time they spend checking Mimics audits. They're a real pain. So on a rule basis, you can now monitor Mimics audits. So it doesn't need to be a manual task anymore. And you can just create a rule. And these screenshots kind of denote that. So I'm monitoring an audit here, audit not compared. I can pin it down to a particular data group if I like. And I can say what I'm interested in flagging. So in this screenshot here, hey, maybe I always get one problem in the audit and I'm happy with that. That's acceptable for some reason. So I could say, I want to know when there's greater than 2 audit problems or greater than 0, whatever works in your environment. So that allows you just to get an alert if there's any problems with the audits. So this is a real time saver if you're running Mimics.
And I think the key there is people have to realize it is an extra cost module into Halcyon, but we can monitor Mimics, and we do have customers doing that.
We do, and it's such a drain on time. I think our friends at Seedsort say that it can take up to half an hour per pair of partitions per day to do manual monitoring, which is too long in my book.
Yeah, we're automation.
Exactly.
And overall, we do have Robot HA out there too. So if you're looking for an alternative to that and you're frustrated with that, we'll certainly shamelessly plug Robot HA at this point.
That's right. And we can also go. We've made another enhancement here. We've got another system default where we can go back up to a day to look at these audits. Previously, I think that was just a couple of hours. That wasn't sufficient. So you can now go back a day's worth of audits to raise those alerts. I guess I should remind everybody that all of these, or pretty much all of these, have been customer enhancement requests. It's you guys that are running the applications. You're running real life machines. We're just running development machines. So it's you that's got to live with the applications. So if there is something you'd like to see in the products, we welcome enhancement requests. We really lap those up. And this is one that again was a customer request. So this is in level 3. This is the disk space manager, and this allows you to monitor mounted file systems. So you can see an MFS file system there, and that's been mounted over something else. It could be absolutely anything. So I can do things with that. I can see its size. If it had changed, I could sort by change size or the size of the object, and I can drill into that as well. I can use option 12 to work with that. So if you're running mounted file systems, Disk Space Manager can help you housekeep and keep an eye on your spiraling disk space. Now, I thought I normally do this, a sneak preview of the roadmap. What have we got coming up? Well, quite unusually, we've probably got more non-I enhancements than I enhancements coming up. So the next IBM I release is it's scheduled for February 2020, and then we're going to try to do 2 a year. So we'll try to get a couple of new releases out a year. And coming up in 2020, there are a number of enhancements. One of which allows you to copy product user authority. So in Halcyon, in order to use various options and various functions and to do things in the product, you have to have product authority. And at the moment, you have to create that on a user by user basis. It's quite long-winded. So we've enabled the ability to copy users. So if you've got a user and you think actually they've got the right authority for the next user I'm creating, you can copy that user. So that should save, again, some legwork, some valuable legwork there. What else are we doing in here? We've done some work with the GSM data terminals. These are the little units that we talk to be able to send SMSs and also allow you to send SMS replies back into Halcyon. We've done some work on establishing the signal strength of 4G GSMs. So you can see at a glance how good your signal is, which again is going to be key if you're reliant on GSMs for getting SMSs out or for receiving commands in. And I guess finally, well, not finally, there's a lot more things in there, but one of the other things we're putting in is when you're using the hold or release rule, either manually, interactively, or programmatically, if the command was to fail, we now provide a reason. So maybe you're not authorized, or maybe the rule was already held or released, whereas before it was very generic. So that's coming out as well. So programmatically, it's something you can monitor for. If you're not authorized, hey, raise an alert and tell someone you're not authorized. So a few bits and pieces, useful bits and pieces coming out in February. Maybe a little earlier, we're a bit of ahead of the curve on that. And then quite a number of things non-IBMI, as I say, for a change. And I've got some screenshots I'd like to share with you. So I mentioned right up front the enterprise console. So it's had a bit of a makeover. It was due a bit of a makeover. And you can now, in the enterprise console, you can look for some text string. So you can pop in some text string and it will find all the alerts with that text. So again, we're trying to move with the times. We're trying to bring a modern dashboard type approach and save you some legwork. The other thing we've done in the enterprise console, again, which is looking like late January, maybe early February for this release, is we've enabled you to add comments to closed alerts in the console. So again, this was a customer request. Quite often they would have an issue and then maybe a week later during a review meeting, they'd work out what that issue was and they'd want to add some comments to closed alerts that would explain what that problem was and what they did. So we've enabled that as well. You can add those comments. You can also manage the opened and closed alerts from a single interface. It was a bit of a pain before, to be honest, to manage closed alerts. Once they were closed, they were very difficult to do anything with. So we've improved that dramatically. And then outside of the enterprise console, I mentioned it at the start, we've got something called the Advanced Reporting Suite, which at the moment does traditional CPU disk and memory type reporting, kind of system type reporting. We've added a whole raft of reporting options in there. Just a reminder, this is a chargeable extra, but it allows you to do what we call an alert trend analysis. So you can extract and see at a glance how many alerts were generated, how many were raised, how many were closed, how many were replied to. The most frequent alerts, hey, maybe that's important to you. You know, maybe you don't know what the most frequent alert is on your box. Also the busiest period, the busiest box or the busiest time of day, or even the busiest user. And I've got some sample reports here that really show you what we've got. So this one's top 10 alerts by device group. So I've got 423 alerts coming from a particular machine with a particular text string. So I guess in the real world, this will be important to me. I'd want to resolve that. 423 over the month is quite a lot. And these groups, I've got them grouped. Whatever, I've got an IBMI group here. These could be customers if you're a managed service provider, or an application, or absolutely anything. You could logically group things to fit your environment. We've got some groups here as well, got AX, IBMI, Linux, Windows. Again, these can be split by customers, and you can see at a glance how many were raised, how long they took to close, how long they were open for, how long it took to acknowledge them. And some of this type of data, it's always been there, but now we're connecting the advanced reporting suite to the console. It enables us to really do some clever things with alerts. People were saying, Halcyon's great, I can monitor everything, but I sometimes need to prove what I'm doing or what I'm using Halcyon for, particularly for larger shops or for managed service providers. They need to show where their time and where their money's going. And just moving towards the end here, we can even split it down, right down to an individual product, number of alerts, and provide graphical representations if that floats your boat even more. And I guess finally on the reporting side, we can even report on user activity. So everybody that signs into the enterprise console signs in with a unique user. We can establish what those users have actually done. So on a user by user basis, we can see how many people have closed, acknowledged, commented on them. So you can see if people are cherry picking particular alerts. Maybe they're more comfortable in one platform than another. So you can see that kind of thing as well. So that was in and around the advanced reporting suite. And I guess really to finish now, the final thing that will be available again at the end of January, February time, it's another template. It's a IBM MQ template, and that spans AIX and Linux. So we have an MQ manager on I, works well. We'll have the, if you like, the equivalent on AIX and Linux. And again, it's just a series of rules. So it allows you to monitor, if you're running MQ, things like listeners, services, channels, processes. We can look for the content in key files. So we're looking for errors and error conditions and key things in MQ, like depth of messages on the queue, how long messages have spent on queue, the last time we put or got something from that queue. That can all be retrieved and obviously flagged up to the central console. So busy times. So early next year, there's some more exciting enhancements coming.
Well, awesome, Ash. That's really a great update. I really like that MQ one at the end. Again, another thing where people are using Tivoli to do that. I think we got an easier, simpler, less costly option for that. Well, we're off to our last polling question before we get into Q&A. How can Help Systems help you? Well, I'd like a demo of some of the Halcyon latest features. Check that. You can select all that apply here, by the way. I'd like to trial Halcyon. I hadn't seen that software before, and looks like there's a lot of good things in there. And we had some questions around Mimics monitoring. Or I'd like a tech update. One of the things that we do is one-on-one calls with customers and take them through what's new at Help Systems, kind of cover everything. Ash does those. I do that. My colleague Chuck Lazinski. So got a variety of us that can help you out there. While we leave that polling question up for a little bit, while you answer that, we did have some questions come in. I have dozens of IBMI partitions. Can I create a template for use and then roll those out over those multiple partitions? How do you handle a multi-partition type environment?
Yeah, good question. We work with a lot of managed service providers that obviously their business is taking on new customers, new partitions. So yes, you can create your own template. So the standard rules that you always want to, standard elements you always want to monitor, you can create those into a template, and within Halcyon you can dump them. And we would take that dump, and that would become, if you like, your template, and we would hide that within the product and give you your own customization key. And we've done that with a lot of managed service providers to just to help them with their onboarding of customers. So yeah, we can help you with that.
Great. Looks like we got time for one more question here, and then we got to wrap up. I know everybody else has got meetings, and myself, I have another meeting to go to. Can I use Halcyon to interrogate IBM's DB2 for I services? What does that do? What does that work? or how does that work, I should say?
Yeah, that's my favorite area, DB2 for iServices, because IBM are adding at least half a dozen of these services with each technology refresh. So the answer is yes. In the object monitor, which we talked about, where we can do IFS housekeeping, you can also run a SQL select statement, and you can use that to run a SQL select statement over the DB2 for iServices and raise alerts if something is amiss. So we've helped customers use that to monitor a tape library status. We can monitor Java. You can monitor, I think there's 76 DB2 for iServices now. So take a look at those services, and yeah, you can use the object monitor for that, Tom.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we did have one other question come in, and the question was, I use Robot Monitor. Can I switch to Halcyon? I kind of like what I'm seeing here. We should just have a one-on-one conversation related to that. And there's reasons for both products. We do have customers that have both Halcyon and Robot Monitor. It really kind of depends upon whether you're looking for dashboards for your data center or unattended operations or a combination of both. So usually a worthwhile discussion to have just one-on-one with your sales representative and somebody like Ash, myself, Chuck Lazinski, and we can kind of point out why you might want both, why you want one or over the other. Definitely a great question, and we'll certainly work to accommodate your need. Well, Ash, wonderful job. We appreciate you taking the time today to work with our Halcyon customers and share what's new. This was a recorded session, so you will be able to play this back in the future, in the near future, I should say. And then finally, to all of you out there, happy holidays. Thank you for being a Help Systems customer. We do appreciate it.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.